and welcome to this episode of our new series of Agent Stories. Today I am joined by Jessica Roberts. Hello.
Hello.
Jess is a specialist in Old Town and District 1. What is it you love about Old Town?
I love Old Town because it's so unexpected. District 1, similar to Old Town, has the kind of feel of once you drive in, it feels like nothing else in Dubai, in my opinion.
It might surprise people to know, but you're not from this world, are you?
I know where this is going. This is awful.
So apparently when Jess was young, she thought she was from aliens and the aliens had delivered her to Earth. What else led you to Dubai?
I think when I graduated uni, I kind of thought I don't really want to live in the UK anymore.
So what do you think sets you apart from competition in the market?
People appreciate my sort of honesty.
I think people misunderstand real estate as thinking we all should be salesmen and hard-nosed and after the deal, but it is customer service and customer advisory type roles.
Yeah, it's a great job. It kind of everything that I'd want from a job, you know, people, challenges. I work for an amazing company.
Hello and welcome to this episode of our new series of Agent Stories. Today I am joined by Jessica Roberts. Hello.
Hello.
Jess is a specialist in Old Town and District 1, which are not maybe two areas you would put together straight away, but we'll come on to that in a moment because as part of this series, we're getting to know the agents, we're getting to know the areas that they work in to give a bit of an insight in both. So I thought, what better way for us to get to know Jess than speak to a very glamorous mother who was voice noting me from a flight to San Francisco last night
dear.
about some stories about Jess maybe from growing up.
Brilliant.
So the first one that came out was, it might surprise people to know, but you're not from this world, are you?
I know where this is going. This is awful.
So apparently when Jess was young, she thought she was from aliens and the aliens had delivered her to Earth. And this is probably the same for all countries, but back in the UK, we used to have dishes on the side of the house for satellite television. And Jess used to think that was her way of communicating with her home planet.
Okay, I can't believe she said that.
So where did that come from?
I was going to say, can I explain this story a
please
little bit?
do.
So, in my defence, whenever I was like being a bit naughty or wasn't really following instructions, which is unlike me, but it used to happen sometimes, my mum would say, carry on and I'm going to send you back home. And I'd be like, what? You're going to send me back home? And she'd be like, yeah, aliens dropped you off at the top of the garden. And in our house, we had like a huge garden. It was literally like, I'm saying miles, that's probably an exaggeration, but when I was little, I felt like it went for miles and you couldn't see the back of the garden. And she used to be like, yeah, one night I woke up and there you were under the shed at the back of the garden. And she'd say, if you keep being naughty, I'm going to return you. And then I'd be like, well, how are you going to contact them? Like, what are you going to do? And she'd be like, the satellite dish. That's how we contact them. And honestly, it's embarrassing, but I think I was about like 14, 15 when I was like, okay, she's lying.
Is that old?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that always in the back of my mind, I was thinking, oh, is it?
So,
Am I by aliens?
Well, that links into something else your mum told me about, actually.
Oh, God, I know. Do you know what? The thing is, I know exactly what you're going to say.
Go on.
Harry Potter.
Yeah. Yeah.
See? I know her too well.
Go on, so tell us that one.
So, this is all coming out that I was just really gullible as a child, isn't it? So I was obsessed with Harry Potter, still am obsessed with Harry Potter. And when it came to applying for secondary schools, like my mum would she's like big on Christmas, the Tooth Fairy, like she always had this like magical thing when we were little. And that kind of tied in with Harry Potter. And me and my brother when we were younger, we were convinced it was real, like has to be real. We loved the films. My granddad loved the films as well. So my mum would always say, like, you know, well, when you get a bit older and it's time to go to high school, like, you can apply for Hogwarts. Like, you're special. You were dropped by aliens. Like, you'll surely be able to go to Hogwarts. So I was like, right, okay. we've got this. So I remember, how old are you when you go to secondary school? Like 11?
11. Yeah.
So I remember going and looking at different schools, and all of my friends, like the next day in the playground, be like, oh my God, we loved that one. That one was so cool. And in my head, I was thinking, yeah, well, I'm going to Hogwarts, so don't really care. So we looked around loads of different schools, and when it came to writing your first, second and third choice, I did write Hogwarts as my first choice. But then what's even worse is how cruel is this of my mum. She took it one step further and wrote me a rejection letter.
From Hogwarts? What was the reason?
Just I wasn't special.
Wow, so your mum's really had you over, hasn't she?
Yeah, really had me over. And she always says, I'm your favourite. And I'm thinking, you're not. You literally scarred me as a child. I thought I was going to Hogwarts, and I thought I was going to be picked up by aliens when I was 16. So,
I've got one more thing I'm going to bring up. And honestly, must have had 10 voice notes off your mum. So...
God.
Maybe there'll be a part 2 at some point.
Let's hope not.
The final one, it's only a quick one because I'm conscious we do need to get on. She was telling me about how you used to do a lot of promotion work. And I think you had to dress up a couple of times. One is as an M&M, which I'm not going to talk about today. But the other one, can you tell me about when you dressed up as a Christmas bauble in a shopping mall and came across a bunch of maybe mischievous boys, if we call it that way.
Yeah.
What did they do to you?
So I used to do a lot of promotion work and used to do a lot of dancing work, and people always think, oh my God, that must be so glamorous. Absolutely not. So one job that I got booked for was in Westfield in London, and it was like a Christmas parade. So we were like, yeah, cool, we'll be like snowflakes or whatever, it'll be really easy. Got there, and there was, I'm not joking, probably the size of this table, this big wooden, I've got pictures, this big wooden ball. And the agency that I worked for was like, right, your baubles. I was like, sorry, what? They were like, yeah, your baubles. So we need you to put the suit on. And I had like this little sock hat thing, and it was made out of wood. So it was so heavy. Every time you walked, you'd like bang your shins. So I was covered in bruises. So me and my friend had the baubles on, obviously had to walk quite far away from each other because we kept banging into each other. And there was this group of boys, and me and my friend were like, oh my God, we cannot believe that they are looking at us, like they're really good looking, we're dressed as baubles, like this is awful. And we had to go down to like the lower level, and my friend Ellie's bauble was slightly smaller than mine, so she got on the escalators and was okay and could move. I got on the escalators, they got on behind me and kind of like pushed me to get on, so then I was wedged on the escalators. My feet were up and the escalators were just going down. I was stuck, and they had to push me free.
All the way to the bottom?
Pushing me, they had to kind of like push me every like couple of seconds to get me down, and then the last one pushed me a bit too hard, and I just went rolling like a pinball down the shopping centre. So that was fun.
So one question that I'm posing to everyone is, what made you move to Dubai? But I think it's quite obvious.
Yeah, so it's either my mum just abusing me, or I wanted to stop dressing as a bauble, to be honest.
So aside from that, what else led you to Dubai?
I think when I graduated uni, I kind of thought I don't really want to live in the UK anymore. I wasn't really that bothered where. I applied for like China, America. I got like, and they were all really random jobs as well. I applied to be like a private school teacher, a secretary, just like loads of random things. And it was actually another agency that came back to me and said, oh, like, this is what we could offer you in Dubai. Would you be interested? And I thought, you know what, actually, I've never been to Dubai, but worst case scenario, you go home. Let's have a look, let's try it. And then they were like, yeah, you need like X amount of money. And I thought, right, well, don't have that. You know, I've not got enough bauble gigs, so need to save. And then it was a year later to the day that Allsopp approached me and just said, look, we've heard about you a little bit because I was kind of in the industry. Would you move over? And I just thought, you know what? Yes.
Let's go.
It was raining, and I was working from my ironing board at home because it was when the UK was in lockdown. So I think I kind of just thought, get me out of here.
I remember meeting you, I think it was on your second or third day. And one of the areas we mentioned a moment ago that you cover is Old Town. And I love Old Town. I love the cobbled streets, the nooks, the alleys, the cafes, the restaurants. Yeah. It really feels like you're in almost like a Mediterranean village type place.
So different, isn't it?
Yeah. And I remember you got given the area, and then I remember you went out to try and find the area. And maybe without naming any names of where you did end up, shed a bit of light on that one.
So this was nearly the end of me at Allsopp Allsopp. This was nearly like absolutely not. I went to look at my area, and Old Town's got two different sectors. It's got Al Manzil and it's got Camadine. So I put Al Manzil in my ways, and classic Jess, can't even spell my own name, spelt it wrong. So I was driving, and without naming any areas, I'm sure you can imagine the kind of area that I turned up in. I was like, what the hell is this? And everyone had said to me before I've gone, oh my God, you're going to love Old Town. It's gorgeous. Chloe Kempton said to me, you know, it's so beautiful. Everyone wants this area. And I remember thinking, everyone wants this area? Is someone having me on? Everyone wants this area. I didn't have money for parking, and I had to pay for parking, so I had to ask some random man to help me. So the whole thing was just really traumatic. I was sweating. I was thinking, what am I going to do? I've moved to change my life. This is not going to change my life. And I remember driving home and saying to Mark Walters, no, I'm not doing it. He was like, what do you mean you're not doing it? I was like, no, it's not happening. He was like, is this where you went? And showed me on his phone. And I was like, oh, actually, no. Looks nothing like that. Completely wrong. And then when I actually went to Old Town, I was like, oh my God, love it.
Okay, so you love Old Town. What is it you love about Old Town?
I love Old Town because it's so unexpected. So downtown is so busy. You've got the boulevard. It's full of high-rise towers, loads of glass, really modern. And I love downtown. But the minute that you step into Old Town, whether it be through one of like the back gates or you go through the souk, you have no idea that you're in the middle of downtown. It's so quiet. It's things like, it sounds really silly, but you'll pass someone in Old Town, they'll go, hi, are you okay? And you're like, yeah, I'm good, you're having a nice day. Like, it's like a little, it sounds really cringe, but it's like a little slice of like heaven, something completely different. And I think what I love about it the most is anyone that I take there is their reaction. And especially when it's someone that maybe doesn't know the area, and I've said, oh, would you consider Old Town? They're kind of like, oh, what is it? And you take them, and from that moment forward, they're not looking anywhere but Old Town, because there's nothing else like it.
Yeah, I like I said before, I agree. And one of my goals in life is actually to get one of those apartments with the back door, the back gate onto the boulevard. I think that's incredible. Your back gate is onto one of the busiest and most well-known iconic city centres in the world.
There's just, I think the other thing that I love about Old Town is there's nowhere like it. I can't think of, you know, a big part of this job is comparable areas and would you consider this is similar. But kind of a blessing and a curse with Old Town is when someone says to me, you know, where else is there? There isn't. For me, there's nowhere else that compares. Where else, you know, in a big city do you get gardens or greenery or just not be able to hear cars? Not be able to hear cars, not be able to hear people. You're, you know, 10 meters from the biggest mall in the world and you would never know.
That's a real estate agent's 10 meters.
Yeah, everything's 20 minutes in Dubai or 10 meters.
But it's not that far. It's a little bit further than 10 meters, but it's not.
Give or take.
It's not that far. Okay, so that's Old Town. But then District 1, and I'll let you tell us all, is quite different. Yeah. Obviously, so tell us about District 1.
So District 1 is obviously completely different to Old Town in the sense that they're all villas. Old Town is apartments, it's right in downtown. District 1 is a villa community. District 1, similar to Old Town, has the kind of feel of once you drive in, it feels like nothing else in Dubai, in my opinion. So it feels really like luxury. And I know that's quite a hard thing to imagine, but you drive in, there's not one piece of grass out of place. There's not, you know, one playground or volleyball pitch with sand out of place. It's perfect. It's pristine. The houses are gorgeous. So in that sense, they're similar because they're two quite tiny areas that aren't like anything else. But obviously the actual product and actual properties are completely different. One's apartments, one's villas.
So what's your typical clientele for both?
So again, this is something that I love about doing both areas. I think I really get to experience both ends of the spectrum. So with Old Town, it tends to be a lot of first-time buyers that are maybe sort of young professionals, they work in DIFC or downtown, want a kind of community villa feel, but location is really important. So it's a lot of people getting a mortgage for the first time or like scraping everything together to buy. You do get your investors and things like that because people want to own there, but majority is young couples, end use, first time families. And then on the flip side, District 1 is kind of maybe last family home purchase. So bigger ticket value, but it's families that have been in Dubai for quite a while, maybe have, a couple of children. They've lived in smaller areas, but now need to upsize. So I like it because you get both ends. You get people at kind of the beginning of their property journey, and you get people at the end of the property journey. So it's nice because then I don't get bored and get to speak to loads of different people.
Well, I was going to ask you, do you find it challenging mixing the two such completely different type of areas and property value and type? And
yes and no. I think what I find easy about it is, to me, no matter what you buy in or who you are, you're a person. So my approach is probably maybe a little bit different to other people, and I like to just kind of listen, what are you looking for? What do you want? And, $1 million dirham purchase in my head is just as important and is just as big a thing as 100 million dirham purchase. So in that sense, I don't find it difficult because I just feel like people are people. But in terms of, it can be hard to flip between the two. So when I'm like doing Old Town, for example, and I've got loads to do there in the morning, and someone calls me about District 1, I'm like, it's different. Yeah, it's different.
Yeah.
It's different service charges, and it's more, while buyers are buyers and people are people, it's kind of a different type, if you like.
Yep.
So the questions that are asked, or my checklist in my head that I'll go through, is a different checklist from one to the other. Because in Old Town, I might say, okay, are you looking for, does it need to be bright? Does it need to have 2 bathrooms? Do you want Kamadine or Manzil? Because it's apartment blocks. Whereas with District 1, it's like, okay, is the plot size important to you? Where do you want to be on the lagoon? It's kind of like a different checklist in my head. So same principle, but it's just you have to flip between the two.
So that's the areas, and the thing that remains constant now is you.
Yeah.
So what do you think sets you apart from competition in the market?
Oh, I feel like you can't answer this without sounding really full of yourself. I think, so if I go off feedback from clients and what kind of people say that they like, I think I'm just quite a normal person. I think I don't necessarily treat a buyer as a buyer or a seller as a seller. I just, like we're having now, I just treat it as a conversation. And I'm also really honest with people. So one criticism of Old Town can be that the apartments can be a little bit dark. It's just the style of the building. Some are lighter than others, but the general is they can be a little bit dark. I don't shy away from that. Yeah. So I'll freely say that, if a buyer says to me, Jess, it's a little bit dark in here, I'm not going to go, no, it's not. It's really bright. Like, turn the lights on. I'll go, do you know what? It is a little bit dark, but for this one, you get this layout. Yeah. So I think people appreciate my sort of honesty, and I'm not pushy. In my opinion, I can't sell a property. If someone doesn't like it, they don't like it. If someone likes it, they like it. So I think not being pushy and saying, okay, right, so you don't like this about this, you like this about this, we're going to have to compromise somewhere. Where is that compromise? What does that look like? So I think maybe just being which is our job. I think people misunderstand real estate as thinking we all should be salesmen and hard nosed and after the deal, but it is customer service and customer advisory type roles rather than like this hard faced salespeople. Yeah. Okay, I've got some questions to finish up on from Alini, our head of PR and comms. These are nicer than the mum's voice notes.
Well, I hope so. So the first question is, both professionally and personally, what is one thing you'd like to get better at over the next year?
So professionally, I think I'd like to get I like to think I'm quite a resilient person, but I think I'd maybe like to get a little bit better at not getting so emotionally attached to things.
I know someone who can help you with that, who's done a very good course in resilience.
Oh yeah, my mum. I think while being just a person is really important to me, and having those conversations with buyers and not being pushy, sometimes I do then get really attached with things. So I take things to heart when, they maybe don't go for what I thought they were going to go for, or, a seller gets a call from another agent and they offer him the money there and then. I think I can be a little bit like, what did I do? What can I do better at? And sometimes it's just completely out of your control, and there's nothing more you could have done. There's nothing better that you could have done. So I'd like to get better at just kind of putting it in a box, maybe being in a mood for a couple of hours, go and have a chocolate bar and then get on with it.
Yeah, and it's a difficult one, that, because I'd encourage that, but that's like a good thing and a bad thing, isn't it? Because on the flip side, it's good that you are so invested and you care so much, but also that you have this self-reflection.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people go through life without any self-reflection, and it's really through that you will learn, and you will maybe handle conversations or situations differently.
Yeah,
in the future.
I think it is really important, and I don't want to lose it completely, but maybe just not
tone it down
as critical, because I get a bit angry with it.
Okay, and then finally, who knows what the answer to this question is going to be?
I'm a bit nervous.
What would you do if you were not in real estate?
What would I do? I would not be a bauble,
Yeah.
that's for sure. I think that's probably one of the hardest questions, because in all honesty, I don't know. I think I'd be doing something definitely people related, maybe like HR or something like that. But I honestly don't know. I think I do genuinely really love real estate. It's a great job. It kind of everything that I'd want from a job, people, challenges. I work for an amazing company. I don't think I know what else I'd do, because it's not really an option.
Yeah, no, fair comment. Okay, that's it. Thank you so much for joining us. Hope you have all enjoyed it. If anyone has any questions for Jess, let us know. We'll put something out on YouTube or socials or have you. Before you go, do you want to share your social channels? People can tune in if they want to.
Yeah, you can do. So my Instagram is JessieLR_X. If anyone DMs me and asks for a picture of me as a bauble, it will be a straight block. That is not happening.
Good. Well, thank you very much, and thank you very much for watching.